Alrighty, here we go. Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Thursday live stream. There is no game today, but we're still talking about Week 18 fantasy football in regards to the tight end position. Over the course of today's live stream, I'm going to be answering any and all questions that you guys have available. I have to actually make sure that I grab this and move it here. Boom. Now my hand is good to go. I'll be talking about my top 16 tight end rankings for a half PPR. If you have any questions regarding a standard, full PPR, anything of that nature regarding the tight end position, ask away. If you have questions regarding the running back or wide receiver positions, go ahead. Quarterback we'll talk about tomorrow in more detail. And then Saturday, prior to the games, we'll of course have a live stream along with Sunday morning as we typically do. I'll have my rankings up to date and we'll be good to go and hopefully capturing championships in Week 18. It is unfortunate, despite the fact that many of you have to play in the Week 18 championship with all the information that has already been presented. Like I see someone in the live chat, Dustin, asking, do I play Likely, Schultz, or Jordan? Like, I don't think that Isaiah Likely is going to play. And even if he does, I don't think he plays for very much. Like, we've already gotten an indication that Odell Beckham Jr. is not playing. They've already set as Zay Flowers is doubtful to play. They've already kind of leaned towards the direction there's not going to be a Lamar Jackson. Tyler Huntley's going to be playing quarterback. So why play your starting tight end Isaiah Likely with Mark Andrews out and then risk injury? We'll talk about that a little bit more. I don't even have Isaiah Likely ranked going into this week because I don't think he's going to play very much either way. I want to go ahead and transition very quickly into just presenting the rankings on screen. A couple reminders before we do so. As the live stream progresses, I will go ahead and head on over to Underdog Fantasy, put together a couple pick'ems plays. Yesterday, we put together a play with Nico Collins and George Pickens. Nico Collins gets an even bigger boost going into this week, considering earlier today, the Texans deemed Noah Brown out going into the matchup, which only helps Dalton Schultz within his overall target opportunity and share within the offense. So again, via Underdog Fantasy, if you guys haven't checked them out, you want to draft teams for the NFL playoffs via best ball or potentially put together some pick 'em plays, you can go ahead and use code Andrew today and get that first time deposit match up to $100. And if you want my rankings for this upcoming Sunday, you'll get those sent to you from my email directly to yours, all encompassing rankings. Thank you very much. If you want to go ahead, check out the map to the right side of the screen, determine your eligibility. And if you sign up before, I think it's Friday's play, you can go ahead and get 0.5 total points in regards to the new customer special of LeBron James. All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk about matchups in specific, because again, when we talk about the tight end and quarterback positions, typically we want to start our studs, but a lot of the studs are not available to play this week. Therefore, we might have to dig for a player that has an advantageous matchup. As you guys can see to the left, right side of the screen, these are matchups in regards to fantasy points allowed in terms of receptions, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, and a half PPR between weeks 5 through 17. These are the most advantageous matchups. If you want to go ahead and take a even, longer look at them, you can go ahead and pause the live stream. I'm going to go ahead and transition into some of the more disadvantageous matchups. And now, finally, let's talk about the top 16 tight end rankings going into this week. You will not see Travis Kelce here because we already know that Blaine Gabbert's starting for the Kansas City Chiefs. Sure, Travis Kelce could play, considering he's, I think, 16 yards away from, completing another 1,000-yard receiving season. That would be his 8th consecutive of his career. If he wants to go ahead and accomplish that, he can suit up and play. But I don't know if that's exactly his goal for this season. They want to win games in the playoffs. They want to maintain health. So I don't even think he suits up. And even if he does, he probably plays only for like the first quarter, gets his yardage, and gets out. As for other tight ends that typically are in this top tier conversation, of course, there's a lot of injuries, but we still have Trey McBride at the very top, takes on the Seattle Seahawks. That's an advantageous matchup, even though the last couple weeks he's been relatively quiet in comparison to weeks prior with Kyler Murray, still a huge contributor within the offense. Evan Ingram's number 2, mainly because if we talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars offense as a whole, we don't know if Christian Kirk's going to be participating this week. I know he conducted a limited participation practice earlier today, so that does give him a potential opportunity to play, but I think they'll probably get him ready for the playoffs. Evan Ingram is probably just as good of a play with or without Trevor Lawrence. We know that Trevor Lawrence did give it a couple of opportunities and attempts to throw earlier today at the practice, obviously dealing with a shoulder injury on his throwing arm. So if in fact that is something that is to impede him from playing this week, Evan Ingram is still a great play with CJ Beathard, who's obviously proven that. And then we have the rest of the gang. If you have any questions regarding these guys, let me know, and we'll get to it. For those of you who are joining us this afternoon, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. If you guys haven't yet already, do me a solid. Click the like button down below. It is greatly appreciated. Michael Barton, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that. All right, let's see some of these questions. Let's see here. Alibaba says Laporta or Kraft. So my assumption is, based on what we've kind of progressed to as the week has kind of moved on, it seems as if the Detroit Lions are going to play their starters. So if that's going to be the case, it would be very difficult for me to pivot away from Laporta in any sort of capacity, even with his inconsistency of play. And even though he only had 3 catches for 18 yards against Minnesota last time out, he's one of those tight ends at this current circumstance in which he's a must play every single week. And I believe there's a potential chance for Luke Musgrave to play this week, which will hurt Tucker's overall ranking, and it may move him down if we get more momentum in that circumstance. Dustin had earlier said likely Schultz or Jordan. As it currently stands, I'd probably end up playing Dalton Schultz. I mean, Dalton Schultz without Noah Brown there, with no Tank Dell, it's just Nico Collins as the number 1, a questionable Robert Woods. He could potentially even be limited or miss the game. I know that Brevin Jordan did steal a touchdown from, or I wouldn't qualify it as stealing a touchdown. He did score a touchdown last week, but I do think that Dalton Schultz will continue to maintain as the primary tight end 1 that gets himself the vast majority of work. Prankster says, play Kraft. Laporta doesn't have a playoff spot to win. I mean, technically they do. If they win and the Dallas Cowboys lose, they're the number 2 seed, and they can go ahead and have a home game for the entirety of the playoffs up until, if in fact they do play the San Francisco 49ers. So there's still an incentive for the Detroit Lions to play. Now, until they come out and say that they're not playing their starters, I have to continue to believe that they will. So yeah, I believe that they're playing based on everything that I've read and based on the comments from their head coach. It looks like they're going to be firing up their full team. I mean, like, in comparison to other teams, like we've heard Kyle Shanahan come out and say, hey, yeah, we're not starting our main guys, but everyone can't sit. Like, there's only 54 guys on this, or 53 guys on this active roster. Like, we're still going to have to play a good amount of our starters, but we're not going to play our main guys. Let's see here. Michael Barton says PPR, Tyrod Taylor or Derek Carr. All right, between the two, as it currently stands, I kind of want to play Tyrod Taylor there, but I think Derek Carr's consistency as of late, what is he, like 4 consecutive weeks of 2 touchdowns scored? I think Derek Carr's consistency probably is the preferred play. You do have Darius Slayton, considering the stack. That's not a bad idea. So as it currently stands, I haven't really done my deep dive into quarterbacks. Let me go look at what Tyrod's stats were in the second half of that game against Philly a couple weeks back when he replaced Tommy DeVito. Let me get a quick glance at it. Let's see what the deal is here. Yeah, look, what I'm thinking is Atlanta's defense last time out, Carr wasn't the greatest in comparison to Tyrod Taylor, who also has rushing upside, and Philadelphia's defense just is a mess as a whole. I don't mind starting him with Slayton and doing the stack there. Honestly, that's probably where I would go. By the time I get to tomorrow, I'll probably be in a position to where I'm actually ranking Tyrod Taylor probably higher than Derek Carr this week. So that's fine by me. As for your second question, number 2, stack Taylor with Slayton. Number 3, pick 2 running backs, Hall, Henry, CEH, and Mostert. Mostert didn't practice yesterday or today, so the assumption is that Mostert most likely is not going to play this week. So I'd probably end up playing Hall alongside of, do I play him with Henry or CEH? I'd probably play him with Henry. Probably his final game as a Tennessee Titan. Could go off. Number 4, pick 2 more running backs, Zamir White, CEH, Aaron Jones, Mostert, or Jordan Mason. Out of those available that you have there mentioned, Michael Barton, I would pick Zamir White and Aaron Jones. And then you're good to go. So yeah, I'm comfortable, stacking Tyrod Taylor with Darius Slayton, Hall, Henry, Zamir White, Aaron Jones. Thank you, Michael. Let's see here. Trevor says, I planned on to play Gibbs, but geez, you never know. Yeah, I mean, there's always a potential in which they could end up pulling their guys at halftime. We don't know. We're not privy to information that they don't make public, so we'll see. Where is Juwan Johnson? Number 6. He's literally on screen. Let's see here. Curious Kid said, hello. I was the same person yesterday that chose yesterday to choose between Ferguson, Juwan Johnson, and Schultz. I'm guessing the ranking is still Schultz. Yeah, as it currently stands, I'm still comfortable with Schultz, number 1, Juwan Johnson, 2, and then Ferguson, 3. If you want to play Juwan Johnson over Schultz, I don't have a problem with it. That's why I have them in the same tier. I could justify playing Juwan Johnson over Goddard. I could justify playing him over Schultz and vice versa. But yeah, as it currently stands, I do prefer Schultz, especially with the information that we got earlier today that Noah Brown is not going to be active. But Juwan Johnson, 3 consecutive weeks of a receiving touchdown, does make him a very sweet potential play going into this week. Jeremy Williams says, sorry, I missed the first part of the video. I'm assuming likely won't play Schultz over Johnson. Yeah, so my assumption is that he won't play. So with Tyler Huntley at quarterback and what we have seen from Tyler Huntley over the course of the last couple of years, right? I mean, because Lamar Jackson last year and the year before, 2022, 2021, missed pretty consistent amount of time in the back end of the regular season. In those stints, going back to 2021, Tyler Huntley was the reason why Mark Andrews was the number 1 overall tight end that given season. You go to 2022, in the absence of Lamar Jackson, of course, Mark Andrews still a solid play. Isaiah Likely was a solid play in the weeks in which, of course, Mark Andrews was injured. So I'm thinking the third string tight end, Charlie Kolar, should be a pretty solid play in this circumstance. He did score a touchdown last week with Huntley, so it's all kind of positioning in the idea where if Likely is going to most likely be limited and or potentially not even play because, of course, they are, resting their starters, I would assume that he could be the next man up and with Huntley get a huge boost of opportunity because Huntley loves utilizing his tight ends. Sergio Martinez says, should I leave my kicker, Harrison Butker, since starters aren't in? Yeah, so that's a really good question. They're still a professional football team, so they're going to be able to still move the ball, technically. But I don't know if we're going to get a 23. What did Harrison Butker have last week? I think it was 23 fantasy points, some ridiculous number. I don't know if they're going to be able to reach that number per se, but they're still going to be able to move the ball. I mean, last time out, I'm trying to remember. Earlier this year, there was a game in which Gabbert came into the... Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, there was a game in which Gabbert came in and he threw like 2 interceptions almost immediately. There may be a chance to where maybe we could pivot at kicker, but I don't mind keeping Harrison Butker as it currently stands because they're still going to be able to move the ball, and most likely they won't score touchdowns, and they'll probably kick a bunch of field goals. So that actually kind of helps his potential there. Nathan J says, hey, Andrew, I have Laporta and Hawkinson in Dynasty. Okay. Hawkinson worth selling. I'm contending team, currently not sure, value with injury. I wouldn't worry too much about his injury. It's an ACL, but he's a tight end. If it was an ACL, MCL with a running back, therein lies the risk, right? I think we've seen far more returns from injury at the ACL, MCL capacity at wide receiver, quarterback, tight end in comparison to running back, who really does struggle with the injury. If you want to sell Hawkinson, I don't have a problem with it considering you have Laporta, but in terms of the value that which you can get, yeah, I'm not the expert dynasty guy to ask that. I probably wouldn't be able to give you an ideal answer in that circumstance. I'm originally Green says pick'ems for this week. Yeah, we're gonna go over that in just a moment. Prankster says, oh, that's a good point. Didn't think about that again. Surprised at the Cowboys. Yeah, look, if the Cowboys lose the Commanders, I will be beyond surprised. But that being said, like I was mentioning yesterday, the Commanders beat the Cowboys last week, week 18, right? So there's always a potential of a meltdown game. I hope that it doesn't exist because for many of us who have CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, etc., hopefully they can deliver a solid performance against one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in the NFL. No problem, Alibaba. Trevor says, Patriots defense number 1 this week versus the New York Jets. I don't know if... Let me see here. Where do I have... Let's see here. If I go to... Let me go to my Excel sheet. Let's go here. So if I'm looking at it, I probably have the Dallas Cowboys defense as my number 1 defense going into the week if I actually had to pick one right now. If not them, I could consider the Patriots at like number 2 or 3. That's not a problem in my mind. I think that works. I was gonna say it's probably like Dallas 1, the Jets number 2, and then New England number 3. I probably do that. But yeah, if you have the New England Patriots defense available, I think that's not a bad idea at all for this good, this given week in the circumstance. Let's see here. Josh Scranton says Kyler or Fields. They feel like the same player. They may seem like well, are they the same player? I don't think so. Kyler doesn't run for very many yards. Let's see here. What is Kyler Murray's rushing yardage as of late? Let's see here. Rushing 5 for 24, 5 for 32, 6 for 49, 9 for 20. In comparison to Fields, who, I mean, last week 11 for 45 and a touchdown, 9 for 97 and a touchdown, 7 for 30, 5 for 58 and a touchdown, 18 for 104. Like Fields is he's a monster when it comes to running the ball. And that's why I prefer him. That's why I loved him so much this offseason. Unfortunately, obviously dealt with the thumb injury and it missed a considerable amount of time, but still has been really promising for fantasy purposes. Now, as to whether or not he's a bear next season, to be determined. And that's not for me to, potentially speculate on. I guess we'll just have to see where the cards potentially fall in that circumstance. But as it currently stands, I probably feel pretty comfortable rolling with Field. Yeah, I'd probably roll with Fields if it's my team. It's close, though. I think they're both great plays, especially considering Seattle's defense isn't great. They just got 30-plus points dropped on them by Mason Rudolph. Can you imagine that? I mean, obviously, a lot of it was the running game, but still. All right, let's see here. What other questions we have here? Michael Barton says, would you play Kirk if off IR? I would only play Kirk if Trevor Lawrence is playing. Like, if Kirk gets a full practice and they're like, hey, he is returning this week, I would feel comfortable playing him if Trevor Lawrence is back. If it's going to be CJ Beathard, I don't know if I can technically trust that overall play. Because I don't know if the passing game will be potent enough to justify it. Let's see here. Michael Barton says Santos. Okay, so it's Cairo Santos, Matt Gay, or Kaimi Fairbairn for kicker. As of late, I think probably... Let me look at the weather real quick. Let's see what the weather looks like as of right now. So as it currently stands for week 18... Baltimore is a 90% chance of snow, or actually, no, it's 90% chance of rain. It could be snowing. Bengals, 62% chance. Patriots game is a 98% chance of snow as it currently stands. It's probably going to change, but that's a ridiculous number. Probably going to be a snow game in which both those teams are going to struggle passing the ball. It's probably going to be a run-first approach by both teams, which helps for Breece Hall, Zeke, etc. New York has a 61% chance of rain. Anything else that's crazy? Packers is clean weather. Who else? Matt Gay plays indoors this week. And the final option was Kaimi Fairbairn. Where's Houston? Houston plays indoors against the Colts. Okay. So, yeah, as it currently stands, I'd probably end up going with like Kaimi number 1, Cairo number 2, Matt Gay number 3 in that order. Kizday says, start McBride over Laporta in a PPR scoring. Sorry, I'm late. No problem for being late. As it currently stands, would I play him over Laporta in a full PPR? Yeah, I probably would. I think Sam Laporta's overall reception total isn't I mean, there's always a chance. He's done it. It's not out of the realm of possibility in which he could put up a game in which he has 9 receptions. He did it earlier this year, but I'm just looking at his most recent reception counts. I know last week 7 catches, but and the inconsistencies there, like 7, 3, 5, 2. Like there are those dip games that he has that always hurts. So for right now, I probably lean towards still playing McBride there in a full PPR capacity. But if I could, I'd probably try to start them both. I don't know who you have at flex there, Kizay. Silver Raptor says, in the last week of a player eliminator league, JT or Connor, I have Connor ranked higher as it currently stands because of the matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. Just to put it into perspective, I know we're talking about tight ends today, but I don't mind answering questions regarding any other position. So if you guys have questions, let me know. In regards to running back production against this defense, so Pittsburgh, as we all know, had over 200. Well, actually, no, it wasn't 200 rushing yards. I think it was like 200 or 198 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns from the running backs against Seattle. The week before, Tennessee had 128 rushing yards and a touchdown against Seattle. The week before that, Philly had over, I think it was maybe 95 rushing yards. That's the best rushing day that Philly's had in a while. San Francisco had 165 in a rushing touchdown. Like, there have been a lot of successful running backs against that defense as of late. And considering the streak of success that James Conner's on, somebody was asking about pick'ems earlier. I'm probably going on a lot of the hires in regards to his overall potential yardage and plays going into this week. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and skip that ad YouTube wanted to put in. Silver Raptor said, in the same eliminator league, Adams or DK? I currently have Adams ranked a little bit higher. Sergio Martinez says, if I had to choose between 2 teams, which one are you picking? Josh Allen, Lamb, Diggs, Jonathan Taylor, Zeke, Goddard, Godwin, Butker, Bucks, okay, or Murray, Montgomery, Connor, AJ Brown, St. Brown, Kraft, Collins, San Francisco, Jake Elliott. For this week, if I had to pick between these 2 teams, I'd pick the first team. I'd rather have Josh Allen, Lamb, Diggs, Jonathan Taylor, Zeke, Goddard, Godwin. Oh, man, that's tough because when I look at those wide receivers, like Diggs is going to burn me, but probably so is A.J. Brown if Devontae Smith suits up to this week. Connor and Montgomery is definitely way better than Zeke and Taylor, but I certainly prefer Josh Allen over Murray, but Josh Allen's been... You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, these are some pretty even teams. I just don't like Tucker Kraft because I think he actually gets Luke Musgrave back. If I'm going to pick these 2 teams, Sergio, I'd probably pick the first one still. But it's really close, man. It's really close. Nathan J says, thanks, Andrew. Hopefully Hawkinson can bounce back. I mean, that's the hope. And obviously, if Kirk Cousins is going to be the quarterback of that team going forward, we have no clue. It'll definitely help him. But regardless of who's the quarterback, we have seen that the Minnesota Vikings offense and Kevin O'Connell has made a concerted effort to try to get as much involvement from their tight end position, which is always great in regards to the potential Hawkinson, who obviously last season signed a new contract that should be good to go for the future. Steve says, there's no way that the Cowboys lose this weekend. Yeah, probably not, but there's always a chance, right? There's a reason why they play the game. Snow in Jersey and New England for this weekend. Yep, we already went over that. Trevor says, Fields ate Kyler for breakfast. Emily says, should I be worried about Khalil being questionable with a back injury? Let me see here. What exactly is this designation that Khalil Herbert has? Let's go over to Chicago. All right, let me look at the injury report as it stands. See what the dealio is. So Khalil Herbert didn't practice Wednesday, limited on Thursday. For right now, all right, so this is what I would probably lean towards. By the time we get to Friday, tomorrow, if he does have another limited participation of practice, by the time we get to Sunday morning, we'll have an idea as to whether or not the team trusts him full-time. Because they can always elevate, or not elevate, but just activate Deontay Foreman. And if they do so, then you will know outright that Deontay Foreman is the starter because of this injury to Khalil Herbert. If by the time we get to Sunday morning and Deontay Foreman, just like last week, is a healthy scratch once again, then we'll know, all right, the injury is not a big deal. They're just trying to keep him healthy so that he can perform for Sunday's game against the Green Bay Packers. So it's more of a kind of wait and see situation. I wouldn't be too worried about it, but if you do have an additional roster spot for, maybe another running back, maybe just go pick up Deontay Foreman just in case. Maybe Roshan Johnson. We'll have to wait and see. Beaver says, love you, Andrew. Nope. Thank you very much, Beaver. Appreciate it. Silver says, thanks. No problem. Regan says, Curtis Samuel or Darius Slayton in a PPR. I'd probably take Darius Slayton, to be honest. Mike says, how confident should I be starting Zamir White? Isn't Josh Jacobs going to steal back the Thunder? Is Josh Jacobs even playing this week? I don't see a reason why Josh Jacobs would play because they've already been eliminated from the NFL playoffs. So there's really just no incentive for him to play. Might as well get healthy. Yeah. Josh Jacobs has not practiced a single time this week. In fact, he hasn't practiced a single time in like 4 weeks. I don't think he's practiced in the last month. So Josh Jacobs is probably not playing this week. Yeah, earlier today, designation did not participate in practice. So yeah, he's not going to play. Zamir White's going to be the full-time guy. Let's see here. Sergio Martinez says, my team is the first one, and I have a 17-point lead. Then you should be fine. You should be fine. I mean, when I look at, I think the biggest difference maker, to be totally honest, is the tight end and the quarterback. Otherwise, I think everything else can be broken even there, Sergio. Let's see here. Steve says, Tyrod Taylor, rushing touchdown, book it. Tyrod Taylor rushing touchdown? You're crazy. You're crazy. Let me see here. When was the last time Tyrod Taylor had a rushing touchdown? That's what I'm curious about. Because I don't remember. I mean, let's see here. Let's go to his career stats. All right. Let's see. When was the last time he had a rushing touchdown? The last time he had a rushing touchdown was 2021, November 21st. He played against the Tennessee Titans as the Houston quarterback at the time. 2 rushing touchdowns. Let's see here. Yes, last week he had 6 rushes for 40 against LA. Earlier this season had himself a pretty good, 5, 8, 5. A good amount of rushing attempts, 2 to 3 fantasy points there, but a rushing touchdown. Hey, best of luck, Steven or Steve. I hope he actually does it for you. Puka Doncic says, should I still start Jonathan Taylor over Diggs and Puka with Moss back? Yeah, absolutely. Moss is not a threat to Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is the full-time guy. Now, if they're going to be like let's put this into perspective. Let's go find the numbers here just so that I can put your mind at ease in regards to playing Jonathan Taylor. So if I go to Indianapolis and I look at the snap counts. So Jonathan Taylor the last 2 weeks has played about, let's see here, 61, 62% of the offensive snaps on average, right? We've seen Trey Sermon last week, 32%, the week before, 20%. So Trey Sermon's that backup running back. As long as, Zach Moss is coming and taking those overall opportunities. Last week, what we saw from Trey Sermon in those 30, overall percentage of opportunities. Trey Sermon last week, 5 carries for 32 yards. The week before, 2 carries for 3 yards. So it's not like they're getting a vast majority of overall touches. While Jonathan Taylor the last 2 weeks, 21 carries and 18 carries. Like, he's going to be the primary guy. I'm not too worried about Zach Moss's potential active nature being, a negative factor for Jonathan Taylor in this circumstance. He's still the number one. Chris Curry says, full PPR, up by 10, struggling with several spots. Okay. What do you got, Chris? Let me know. I'll be more than happy to help. Kizay says, Drake London and Higgins up for my wide receiver 2 spot. I was thinking of neither and getting Demarcus Robinson off waivers since he's available and been more consistent lately. I don't mind that, actually. As the week has progressed, and I'm like, okay, if Kupp's not active, if Puka's going to only play for the first half, there's no Kyron Williams, and it's just going to be Carson Wentz out there, then Demarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell should be decent plays, right? Technically. So I'm like, maybe Demarcus Robinson can be another good play for another consecutive week. I'm thinking that could be a pretty sneaky good play there. Gerardo says, thank you. I used all your rankings to set up my lineup and won 3 of my 5 league championships with the addition of a 3rd place finish. You're the dude. Thank you very much, Gerardo. Congratulations. 3 of 5 leagues. That is, the fact that, let me just put it this way. If you play in 5 leagues and you're able to win 2 of them, that should be, take a bow, take a victory lap, everything. But the fact that you're able to bring in 3 chips, that's ridiculous. Congratulations. Raider Alex says, would you start Diggs this week? Yes, but only in specific circumstances. What I mean by specific circumstances is, what's your alternative options, right? Like, if we're going to be in a situation where our best player is, I don't know, let's think about this. You know what? I don't even have to think about it. Let me just pull up the rankings from yesterday and let's go over that really quickly. So if I remove this and I go add, let me go find yesterday's rankings. Where is it? Okay, we need week 18 wide receiver. I'm going to find it right now. Here it is. Okay, boom. So you see this on screen? I have Diggs at 16, right? Now there's a lot of contingencies here. So like Calvin Ridley's right behind him. He's at 17. But if Trevor Lawrence is playing, Calvin Ridley is going to be ahead of him. If Devontae Smith gets a full practice by Friday, he'll be ahead of him. If Waddle, well, unfortunately Waddle the last 2 days missed practice. Probably Waddle doesn't play, so he's going to be off this list. Jamar Chase, I don't know if I can even technically trust them in comparison. I think they're both just as volatile. I think Brandon Cooks has been more consistent than Stephon Diggs, and it is a pretty advantageous matchup. I could even talk myself into playing him over Diggs. Obviously, we all know that, or at least I've read, maybe you guys have read this as well, that DeAndre Hopkins has a couple incentives in terms of like if he gets X amount of receiving yards, X amount of receptions, he's due for like another $500,000 or potentially or $1 million within his contract and incentives, all that kind of jazz. So those could be solid plays, but just putting into perspective, it depends really on a lot of factors. But yeah, I mean, if push comes to shove, yes, I would be willing to play Diggs in a specific circumstance for sure. Let's see here. Dallas or Tampa Bay defense, week 18. I have Dallas ranked as the highest. Tampa Bay, as of right now, is top 5, but they're 5. Let's see here. Prankster says, thank you, Andrew. Just started listening to you in the middle of last season, and it helped out a bunch for this year. I've followed you from the start and finished, and I'm in the championship game because of you. Congratulations, Prankster. Let's hopefully bring it home, though. We gotta get the job done. I won 2 leagues, took third in 1, battling for first in my money league, and only had 1 league where I went 7-7. Damn. Congratulations on the success this year. Let's hope we can, keep it going. Steve says, Bills need to win outright. Correct. If so, they have to throw to somebody. Got to be Diggs. You would hope, right? But here's the thing. Like Josh Allen, as soon as they changed offensive coordinators, has been he just hasn't been the same guy. Like honestly, he just hasn't. As much as I'd like to say that he's still great, I'm just going to put this into perspective. Let's talk about literally, okay, so the Denver game happens. After the Denver game, they replaced Ken Dorsey with their new offensive coordinator, who was the quarterback's coach, Joe Brady. Now, Joe Brady has been an offensive coordinator in the league. You go back to Carolina in 2020 with Teddy Bridgewater. He was able to get, 3 pretty good fantasy wide receivers. I think they were both, there were 3 top 36 guys. Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore. He had a pretty decent offense, even with Mike Davis as a starting running back. Anyway, since the coordinator change, you go to the Jets game, 20 of 32 passing. Okay, pretty good game. 275 and 3 touchdowns. Then you go against Philly, 29 of 51. That's a 56.9% passing completion percentage. Okay, we're fine. 339 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Still, no problem at all. And then here comes the dip. You take on Kansas City, another game in which he has a 54% passing completion percentage, only 1 passing touchdown. The next game against Dallas, 94 passing yards, a 47% passing completion percentage, only 1 touchdown. The week after, you take on the Los Angeles Chargers, great, but only have 1 passing touchdown again. Then last week, 50% passing completion percentage, 0 passing touchdowns. The consistency is not there in terms of a high volume of passing touchdowns. So if you're not going to throw 3 a week like he was normally doing in weeks past or seasons past, Diggs is obviously at risk. And then on top of it, if he's just so inconsistent in his percentage in terms of completions is in the 50 range, I mean, what do we expect for Stephon Diggs? We shouldn't expect much, right? It's rough, man. It's rough. Let's see here. Chris Curry says, in a full PPR, I'm up by 10. Struggling with several spots. Kyler Murray or Carr? I prefer Kyler Murray there. Pick the running back between Hall, Mixon, Chandler, Zamir White, Elijah Mitchell, Khalil Herbert. Okay, between those guys, I like Hall a lot to play. I also like Herbert. I like Mitchell. I like Zamir. I don't really like to play Chandler because Detroit's run stop defense is great. Mixon against Cleveland, I don't really love it, but I could consider it. As it currently stands, if I'm starting, let's say 2 of these running backs, Chris, Breece Hall has to play, and I think it's probably Zamir White right after him, considering the consistency of play that we've seen from Zamir White. Number 3 would probably be Herbert, assuming he's healthy and ready to go. 4 would be Mitchell. Then 5 is Mixon. 6 is Chandler. And then as for your final question there, wide receivers, Sun God, Diggs, and Reed. As long as as long as Reed is healthy and practices by Friday at a full, actually even a limited capacity, and he's going to suit up this week, I'd play Sun God with Reed. So if it's my team in a full PPR, Chris, I'd probably go like Kyler, Hall, White. I probably end up flexing Herbert if he plays. If not, you flex Elijah Mitchell, and then you play Sun God with Reed at wide receiver. Trevor Augustus says, you asked about our championship lineups. Yeah, I did. Up by 25, Kyler, Brees, Gibbs, Lamb, Pittman, Bijan, Ferguson, Kaimi Fairbairn, Patriots defense, $500 for first place. All right, let's see here. So you're up by 25. You have Kyler, Brees, Gibbs. Okay. Okay, so you have Brees and Lamb. So you should be in a pretty good spot here. Pittman should be great against Houston considering their secondary is not great at all. And, of course, he's clearly the number one. Bijan should be in a fantastic matchup against New Orleans. Ferguson, again, he just like many other tight ends, he's pretty much like 4 catches for 40 yards. If he scores a touchdown, fantastic. Kaimi Fairbairn is a great play, especially considering how great he's been as a late. Patriots defense is a top 2-3 option. And then Gibbs, I expect him to play at a full capacity and hopefully do just as much damage as he did a couple weeks back against Minnesota, which was, I think, like 25 fantasy points. Chris Curry says in a flex for that group. Yeah, so the flex would probably be one of those alternate running backs outside of Hall or White. So it'll probably be Herbert or Mitchell, depending on whether or not Herbert's available and ready to go. Let's see here. Raider Alex says full PPR. I'm down by 20. My wide receivers are Olave, Debo, Diggs. I don't know if I should start Diggs or pick somebody up. So here's the issue, Raider Alex. I don't even know if Debo's playing. So we know that Purdy's not going to play. We know that McCaffrey's not going to play. There will probably be a circumstance in which, considering Kyle Shanahan hasn't come out and said Kittle, Ayuk, and Debo are going to be out, they'll probably play with Darnold for maybe the first quarter, maybe the first half, and then they're going to sit. Now, it's not to say that they can't do, like, Debo against the Rams. If you give me Debo against the Rams for the first half, and we know he's going to play for the entirety of the first half, I can tell you that he's probably going to score 15 fantasy points in the first half, and then he'll leave. So I'd be okay playing him there, but I just don't know if he's going to play just yet. So as it currently stands, I'm okay rolling with, Debo Olave, assuming that Debo even does play. If he doesn't, of course, then at that point, you got to play Diggs. The alternative options, I don't know what you have available, but you can certainly let me know by just typing in the chat. Your other question, Raider Alex, was PPR down by 20. My running backs, 3 to start. We have Kamara, Bijan, Elijah Mitchell, or Herbert. Kamara hasn't practiced the last 2 days, so that probably is a Jamal Williams trending kind of position. So as it currently stands, if I'm starting 3 of those 4, it's Bijan, Mitchell, and Herbert there, Raider Alex. As for quarterback, Fields, Stroud, or Murray, I probably continue to lean towards Fields as the number 1 option there. Steve in the chat said Houston/Indy. I could see Stroud and Collins/Schultz go off. They'll make the playoffs with a win. Do they make the playoffs with the win, or do they need Jacksonville to also lose? What's the actual contingency there? What's the prerequisite to them actually making the playoffs? Let's look at this. So Jacksonville has a 9-7 record. So does the Texans. But what is the deal? Oh, okay, yeah. So technically, if Houston beats the Colts, they're in. Yeah, they're in. They're the number 8 seed. That's what it is. Yeah. So Houston beats the Colts, they're in. If the Colts win, they're in. Got it. As to winning the division, yeah, I don't know what the deal is in terms of winning the division, but they're winning in, so that should be good. Let's see here. Kize says pick 3, Barkley, CEH, Samir White, Montgomery, Achane for this week. Out of that group, considering Mostert hasn't practiced the last 2 days, I'd go with Achane number 1. The number 2 option probably out of this group is most likely Barkley. Number 3 is most likely, I'd probably go like Zamir White 3, Montgomery 4, CEH 5. This is my fantasy Super Bowl. So this is the last week for the pot. Thank you, my man. No problem, Kaze. Sergio says, Reed or Dotson, Reed or Godwin. As it currently stands, if I was to rank all of those guys, like Reed would be number 1, assuming he plays. Let me see. Did he get a limited practice participation, or did he have any setbacks today? Because that is super important in regards to Jaden Reed, considering he's... You know what's funny? You go back to last year, this time, Christian Watson was the guy that carried the Green Bay Packers and carried our fantasy teams. a rookie wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, even though we haven't seen success from a rookie wide receiver for Green Bay Packers in a very long time. Christian Watson did it last year. And who would have guessed that this year, Jaden Reed, another rookie wide receiver, ends up pulling the clutch stick out and carrying our teams. Let's see what, Green Bay Packers wide receiver gets drafted next year, and which rookie that they have that maybe can carry our teams next season. We'll have to wait and see. But let's hear Jaden Reed. Let's control F. Let's go Reed. Reed, limited participation in both practices. Yeah, he'll probably end up playing this week. So I like to play him over both Dotson and Godwin. But yeah, I'm definitely playing him over Dotson. I can consider Godwin over him because, again, Godwin has been playing very well as of late, but Jahan Dotson is a non-factor as it currently stands. Travis in the chat says, hey, bro, you may have answered this already, but Jordan Mason is projected higher than Mitchell. Any thoughts on this? I was lucky enough to grab them both. Thanks, man. Why is he projected higher? Is Mitchell injured by any chance? Let's check. Let's go control F. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Remove. Control F. And let's look up Mitchell. Aha, that's why. Elijah Mitchell is dealing with an illness. So if he has a bug of any sort, he could be, yeah. So that's currently why. Okay, so we'll keep that monitored. Have both on roster. Probably a good idea because it says he's currently dealing with an illness. He didn't practice Wednesday. He had limited participation Thursday. So if he can get a full practice by Friday, we have seen over the course of Kyle Shanahan's history earlier this season, go back to last season, he prefers to utilize Elijah Mitchell over Jordan Mason when both are healthy. But if Elijah Mitchell is not healthy and not at a full capacity, he does not mind pivoting to Jordan Mason. So we'll keep that monitored. Thank you for the heads up in that regard, Travis. Abide Los Angeles says, hey, Andrew, hope all is well. Should I start Pollard or JT in the flex? Also, if you're in LA, let's go Rams game next season. Yeah, look, here's the thing about Rams games. Every Rams game is going to be such a long drive that it's not even worth it because the traffic is going to be a disaster. So I'd rather just sit at home and just watch my red zone, but I do appreciate it. In regards to Pollard or JT, I think I'm still sticking with Pollard there. Yeah, I think I'm still sticking with that. Raider Alex says, if Mostert is out, HN is a must start, right? Absolutely, yes. Just like last week. Top 10. Puka Doncic says, Love or Fields? Ah, that's a really good one. Considering how well Jordan Love is playing and the fact that Luke Musgrave and Christian Watson could return this week with more weapons to his disposal, I feel like Jordan Love has got to be the play, right? Like he's been too good. I think I saw something. Let me see here. Let me confirm this. Jordan Love right now in a standard league. Let me see this. Is QB number 5. Jordan Love has 30 passing touchdowns this year with 3,800 passing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Brother literally has 34 touchdowns this season, which is more than Dak Prescott, which is more than Lamar Jackson, more than Brock Purdy, more than Patrick Mahomes, more than Jared Goff, everyone. The only quarterbacks that have more touchdowns than him, I think the only quarterback is Jalen Hurts, actually, that has more touchdowns than him. It's crazy. Actually, he's tied with Dak Prescott, but still. Jordan Love is ridiculous. Who would have guessed, man? This offseason, I had said, I trust Christian Watson because I actually believe that Jordan Love is going to be good and he's actually going to be able to impress. But I didn't think he'd be throwing 30 touchdowns in his first season as a starter. That's ridiculous. But hey, I love it. I love to see it, man. But yeah, I'll take Love there. Mike says, should I start Love over Kyler? Yes. I have Jaden Reed. Yeah, let's stack it up, baby, Mike. Let's do it. Should I start Cleveland's defense? I don't know. I think they're probably going to sit their starters. As of right now, I'd probably look for an alternative option, but let's see how the week progresses. I'm assuming they can't sit everyone, but I think they'll probably end up sitting their main guys. I don't see a reality in which they're not trying to win this game and they start Myles Garrett or Zadarius Smith. I don't think they'd play those guys. I don't think they'll play Denzel Ward and what's the other? Is it Newsome or is it Newman? I don't remember. I got to figure it out. It's going to kill me if I don't remember. Let's go to the Cleveland Browns depth chart. Newsom, yeah, Greg Newsom. I'm about to say, I knew I had it right. I don't see a reality in which they could sit those guys, or sorry, start those guys if they're trying to lose or potentially just stay healthy. Gerardo says my wide receiver / flex are set with Jefferson, St. Brown, and AJ Brown. Okay, cool. Please pick 2 full PPR. I'm up by 20. Kamara, Warren, Jordan Mason. Thanks. Under the assumption that Kamara continues to trend in the wrong direction and doesn't play this week, I would look to probably pick up Jamal Williams, and probably play Jamal Williams with Warren. Otherwise, if that's not available, play Warren and Jordan Mason. You're good to go. Ben Moore said, full PPR. I have Bijan, Elliott, Herbert, Montgomery, Zamir. Okay, pick 2 running backs and a flex. Cool. So Bijan, Elliott, Herbert, Montgomery, and Zamir. Herbert, we're still kind of skeptical on whether, again, earlier today, Emily had brought up that he was questionable and may not play because of a back injury. We're going to have to keep that monitored. Bijan is a for sure play. And I think outside of Bijan, full PPR wise, I think I'd probably go with Zeke as the second running back there. As for the flex, for right now, considering all things, it'll probably be Zamir White. Abide By says, what do you think about starting Cowboys defense? They're my number 1 defense on the week. Also, you don't think the Cowboys will bench their starters if they're up early in regards to Pollard? It's possible. It is absolutely possible. But let's put it into, okay, technically, you're on the right track. There is a chance in which their defense scores like 2 touchdowns and then it just blows open the gates and then they can sit Pollard. Absolutely could take place. But when I look at the running back play against Washington, and I mentioned this yesterday, I think to you, Abide, there's been, I think, the last 15 running backs, whether they're starters or backups in the same game, there have been like 15 running backs consecutively who have scored over like 13 fantasy points against Washington this season of the last couple games, or the last probably 10 games. Like, running backs dominate against Washington, and I feel like Pollard is going to have to find himself some sort of success like he did last time against them. He put up like 17 or 19 points against them. So I feel like he'll be fine. But yes, there's always a possibility that Dallas's defense does what they did earlier this season. They take a massive lead because of their defensive efforts, and it does force them to sitting their starters. It's always possible. Mike says, better to start the Jets defense against the Patriots or the Patriots against the Jets? Thanks, man. I think it's probably better to start the Jets defense, mainly because I think they're the better defense already, and because Bailey Zappi is a turnover machine. So whether it's like interceptions or potentially fumbles, it's probably going to be, a turnover fest there. So I'll probably lean in the direction of still playing the Jets in that regard. And I also believe that the Jets offense will probably end up winning the game for them, and probably Breece Hall and his efforts alone can carry that team in comparison. Ben Moore says, thanks, man. Awesome, man. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, Ben. Abide By says, cool, thanks. Good information. No problem. Glad I can help. Alrighty. So what I wanted to do before I close out today's live stream was head on over to Underdog, because I know that someone was mentioning that they're interested in checking out some of the picks. Let's go ahead. Let's move a couple things around here. So let's go ahead and move that there. What I want to do is probably I think I'm just going to jump on the screen cap. I think that's just easier this way. So is my camera's flipped on this screen. I didn't even realize that my camera's flipped on this. Really? My camera's flipped. My hand was not here. This is my right, and it's on my left. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, let's go back up here really quickly. Let's close that. In regards to plays this week, what was I mentioning earlier? I wanted James Conner, right? So what does he have right now? 69.5 rushing yards. Like, I feel like that's got to be pretty attainable. I mean, what has James Conner done as of late? Let's see here. James Conner, I'm pretty sure he's been able to surpass these yards pretty consistently, but let's go ahead and let's put this in perspective. As of late, 128, 45, 86, 105. But in the game in which he had 45 against Chicago, because it was a difficult matchup, he still had 67 receiving yards. But that's the only game in which he has had any sort of receiving work. So I'll probably lean towards the idea that he probably continues to run. Yeah, I like the number of 69.5. I'm perfectly fine with that. I think he'll be able to surpass 70 rushing yards in the given week. All right, let's see here. What else is a solid play in regards to this week that I just outright like off of initial glance? Let's see here. Samir White, 21 receiving yards, 70 rushing yards. Man, the Carolina Panthers can't stop the run. I just don't know if I can trust it, though. That's just so sketchy. Mike Evans with 61.5 receiving yards seems like a pretty solid play. Let me see here. What has Mike Evans done as of late? What are his numbers look like? 70, 86, 57, 162 against Carolina, 70, 43. What is his number at? 61.5. I'm okay with that. If anybody's got any picks that they want to go ahead and share and have me look at, be my guest, because I'd be more than happy to take a look and try to put together something here. Raider Alex says, I have the Patriots, Raiders, and Eagles defense available. Should I pick up them? I have Cleveland. Yeah, I don't mind picking up Patriots. I have them ranked higher than Cleveland as of this week because the expectation is that Cleveland does sit their main guys as it currently stands. Let's see here. What's another solid play? Chuba Hubbard doesn't have any yardage counts. Okay, I'll wait on that then. Nick Mullins, look at that, higher than 1.5 interceptions. What a ridiculous number that is, huh? That actually is a ridiculous number. Hold up, let me refresh this. Why is Jared Goff's numbers like blurred out? Let's scroll back down. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see here. Where's Jared Goff's numbers? 223 passing yards. Gibbs with 51. Yeah, you see, this sketches me out. When they don't have actual yardage counts, that means that even Underdog doesn't know if they're going to play fully. That's when you know it's sketchy a little bit here. What do we have here? We don't have an outright rushing count for him. Okay, interesting. We'll wait on that, I guess. Olave with 5.5 receptions or 71.5 receiving. I'd wait on that. I don't know if that number might be a little too rich for me as of right now. They don't have any time receiving touchdown for CeeDee Lamb. If at any point it pops up, take it. That's my suggestion on that matter. If they have Sam Howell at any actually, you know what? Do they have any defenders here for sacks? No, they don't. Okay, I'll wait on that. What else is there? Justin Fields yardage, 52.5 rushing yards. That's not bad. Does he have rushing? Nope, he doesn't have that. Okay, we'll keep it at that. DJ Moore, 66.5. We'll keep an eye on that as well. Khalil Herbert still at 60. Not bad. Okay. That's promising. Christian Watson's got numbers here. Interesting. Okay, for right now, I'm going to take these two. I like these two as it currently stands. This is perfectly fine. Boom. I'd honestly be willing to maybe take like a little spicy play here. What does this work? Scorchers. They can go up to 40x. Okay, interesting. Got it. Thank you. Against Arizona, if Kenneth Walker's healthy, I feel like that's got to be a play. Anytime rushing touchdown for Josh Allen is an automatic. Let me just go ahead and pull up the stats really quickly. Let's see here. Josh Allen rushing touchdowns. So he's had a rushing touchdown in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive games. But he's also had a rushing touchdown in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 of the last 14 games, Josh Allen has had a rushing touchdown. So, I mean, honestly, forget these. This is the best play so far that I've seen today. Yeah, that's probably the best play I've seen today. Is there anything else that's like just as potentially spicy or intriguing? Probably not. Okay, so that ends the list there. Is there anything else that just feels like an automatic? I honestly feel like the rushing yards on James Conner is the automatic. I just don't want to take it twice. What else is there? Let's see. There's got to be something. There's got to be something here that's got to be intriguing. Maybe it's a kicker play. I don't know. Does Kaimi Fairbairn have any stats here that might end up? Let's see here. Where art thou? Kaimi Fairbairn, 7.5 kicking points. What have you done for us lately, buddy? 14, 2, and 13. Yeah, look, that's the thing. That 4 and 13 is quite intriguing. Steve in the chat says, if the Lions didn't play overtime at Dallas because they didn't want their players hurt, why did they play their regulars most of the game this week? When did you hear? I think almost everything about that statement, Steve, is incorrect. So the Lions didn't play overtime against Dallas because they wanted to win the game outright. They didn't want to go to overtime because they knew their defense couldn't hold Dallas's offense. So the assumption that they didn't play overtime because they wanted to keep their players healthy is completely it's not true. And then the reason why they're playing their starters this week is because if Dallas loses by any, God-given way, fantasy God-given way, then we're in business to the point to where most likely Detroit wins and they get the number 2 seed. I think I'm just gonna probably, for right now, against Baltimore, there's some of these plays that I like, but I don't know, man. They're so fine-tuned. All right, I'm just gonna pick a play here, and then I'm just gonna head out. Let's go and just take this. David Montgomery rushing touchdown. That's probably as consistent of a play. I'm going to take that, and then we'll go. What was that, a 3.75x? Not bad. Okay, we'll take that. All right, guys. That's going to cover for me today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Greatly appreciate y'all. I'll be back again, tomorrow for quarterback rankings. Saturday, we'll have rankings for all positions ready to go. Same thing with Sunday morning. Greatly appreciate y'all. I'll give you guys more. I think on Sunday morning, I'll probably start around, considering it's week 18, probably around 8 a.m. And then on Saturday, considering, let's see here, NFL week 18, considering the first game starts at 1:30 p.m., I'll start at probably noon PST. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Greatly appreciate y'all. Until tomorrow, I'll see you guys. I'm going to go ahead and cue the music, and I'll be heading out. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. See you. Peace.